The scientific discovery that is making cholesterol go down without medicine. A new study published in one of the world's most respected medical journals revealed something that many doctors have suspected for decades. Just a spoonful of a simple natural spice per day is enough to reduce cholesterol by up to 70%. And the most impressive thing is that this spice doesn't come from a laboratory, it comes from the earth. It is turmeric, one of the most powerful compounds that nature has already produced. For years, it was believed that only medications and rigorous diets could control cholesterol. But modern science is turning its eyes back to ancient wisdom and confirming what entire civilizations already knew. Certain foods not only nourish the body, but silently heal the blood. Turmeric contains a substance called curcumin, a natural polyphenol capable of reducing inflammation, cleaning arteries, and rebalancing cholesterol production in the liver. And when that curcumin is combined with a touch of black pepper, which contains piperine, the substance that multiplies its absorption, it transforms into one of the most potent natural weapons against high cholesterol. But before understanding how this happens, we need to understand what cholesterol really is and why, after the age of 60, it becomes one of the biggest risks to longevity. Cholesterol is not a villain. It is essential for life. It is present in cell membranes, in the production of hormones, and in the manufacture of vitamin D. The problem arises when the balance between good cholesterol, HDL, and bad cholesterol, LDL, is lost. And that imbalance is what transforms arteries into inflamed corridors, full of plaques and invisible obstructions. What the new study revealed is that turmeric acts exactly where the medication acts, but without the side effects. It inhibits an enzyme called HMG-CoA reductase, the same one that medications known as statins try to block. But it does so naturally, controlled and intelligently, without harming the liver or stealing energy from the body. While statins only reduce cholesterol production, curcumin corrects the cause of excessive production, which is the silent, chronic inflammation that affects millions of people over 60. When that inflammation is controlled, the body returns to balance on its own. The liver produces only what it needs, the blood flows more lightly, and the arteries regain flexibility. And this is where the most impressive point is. In some patients studied, a simple spoonful of turmeric per day reduced LDL cholesterol by up to 70% in 8 weeks. But what few know is that turmeric only really works when it is activated. And that is why many people see no results. Without the piperine from black pepper, the body absorbs less than 10% of the curcumin. With it, absorption can increase up to 2,000%. It is that combination, turmeric plus pepper, that transforms a common spice into a high-impact natural remedy. In the next few minutes, I, Dr. Richard Hale, cardiologist trained at Harvard and Mayo Clinic, will show you why high cholesterol becomes so dangerous after 60, what it does inside the arteries, and how turmeric can literally reverse that process. But first, I want you to do something simple. Comment here your age and the city from where you are watching me. This helps me understand how many of you are looking to take care of your heart naturally, and how many have already realized that true medicine is in prevention, not in medication. From now on, you will understand how the body creates cholesterol, where it accumulates, and why aging makes it more difficult to control until the day when silent inflammation begins to dominate the blood. How the body produces cholesterol, and why that changes with age. Few people know, but almost 80% of the cholesterol that circulates in your blood does not come from food. It comes from your own body. It is manufactured by the liver every day, in an amount adjusted to the needs of the organism. When you need more energy, the liver produces more cholesterol. When the body is in balance, it produces less. The problem begins when the balance is lost, and that happens with almost all of us after 60. Cholesterol by itself is not an enemy. It is the raw material of life. Without it, the body does not produce hormones, vitamin D, or bile to digest fats. It is present in every cell, helping to maintain the structure and fluidity of the membranes. But what defines whether cholesterol will be a protector or a destroyer is the environment where it circulates. And that environment changes completely over time. After 60, the metabolism becomes slower, the liver loses part of its efficiency, and the blood vessels begin to become less elastic. The blood begins to circulate with more resistance, and the body reacts by producing more cholesterol in an attempt to compensate for that friction. It is a natural defense, but one that transforms into a threat when there is inflammation. Cholesterol, then, ceases to be a repairer and becomes a builder who builds walls where he shouldn't. Another important factor is hormonal change. With advancing age, the body begins to produce less testosterone, estrogen, and progesterone, hormones that depend directly on cholesterol as a raw material. When those hormones fall, the body tries to compensate by increasing cholesterol production, hoping to maintain balance. But the aging liver no longer regulates that manufacture well, and the excess begins to accumulate in the arteries. And that's where inflammation comes into the picture. Inflammation is the real trigger for high cholesterol. It arises from processed foods, chronic stress, bad sleep, and a sedentary lifestyle. The body, upon detecting that inflammation, uses cholesterol as a biological healing agent, sending it to the inflamed areas of the arteries to try to repair the damage. But that healing agent accumulates, oxidizes, and hardens, transforming into the plaques that clog the arteries and increase the risk of heart attack and stroke. When young, we manage to deal with that. The blood is cleaner, the liver cells work quickly, and the arteries are still elastic. But after 60, the body can no longer clean the excess with the same efficiency. The liver enzymes become slow, the receptors that eliminate cholesterol from the blood become less active, and bad fat begins to dominate the circulatory system. In addition, good cholesterol, HDL, also falls with age. It is responsible for sweeping the excess LDL from the arteries and taking it back to the liver. When HDL decreases, LDL is left over, and the imbalance begins. Therefore, the real problem with cholesterol is not how much you have, but how it is distributed and metabolized within the body. Turmeric acts exactly at that point. It reduces inflammation in the liver and in the vessels, allowing the body to regulate cholesterol naturally again. Curcumin, its active principle, activates antioxidant enzymes that prevent the oxidation of LDL, the process that transforms common cholesterol into dangerous cholesterol. In addition, it improves the sensitivity of liver receptors, helping the liver to recognize and eliminate the excess. When combined with the piperine from black pepper, turmeric not only reduces inflammation, but also increases the production of HDL, the good cholesterol that cleans the arteries. That is what makes it so unique. It doesn't just cut off the problem, it rebalances it. While many medications only block cholesterol production, turmeric teaches the body to work well again. But there is something even more serious and little talked about. After 60, the body begins to manufacture cholesterol at the wrong times. This happens because the circadian rhythm of the liver, the internal clock that regulates production, becomes misaligned due to stress, sugar, and lack of sleep. The body begins to manufacture cholesterol at night when it should be regenerating. That is why so many people wake up tired and with high blood pressure. The body spent the early morning producing fat instead of repairing itself. In the next few minutes, I will show you the most common mistake that millions of people make every day, believing that they are taking care of their cholesterol. But in reality, they are worsening the inflammation in the blood. It is an almost innocent habit, but one that slowly destroys the balance of the liver and prevents any treatment from working, even the natural one. The myth of cholesterol. The mistake that millions make. and that turmeric corrects in silence. There is a belief that has dominated the world for decades. To lower cholesterol, just avoid fatty foods. But that is one of the biggest half-truths in the history of modern medicine. Millions of people stopped eating eggs, meats and cheeses, believing that they were protecting their heart, and yet they continue with high cholesterol, inflamed arteries, and uncontrolled blood pressure. Why? Because the problem is not in the fat that enters, but in the inflammation that remains. The cholesterol that clogs arteries is not the one you eat. It is the one that the body creates in excess to try to defend itself. And it only does that when it is inflamed. When there is inflammation, the liver interprets the signal as an emergency and increases the production of cholesterol to fix the damaged tissues. That is, cholesterol is not the criminal. It is the firefighter trying to put out the fire. The problem is that when the fire never ends, when the inflammation is constant, the firefighter begins to cause damage without realizing it. That silent inflammation is born from small daily habits. The refined sugar you use in coffee, the white bread and pasta for dinner, the vegetable oil that seems harmless but is oxidizing your blood, the stress and poorly slept nights which alter hormones and overload the liver. Each of those factors activates a different type of inflammation, and all of them meet at the same point, the arteries. It is there that cholesterol tries to act, but ends up forming plaques that obstruct blood flow. Traditional medicine usually responds to that with medications that force the body to stop producing cholesterol. But the price is high. Muscle pain, fatigue, liver damage, and many times the false sense of security. Because while the medication reduces the number in the exam, the inflammation continues alive. The blood continues thick, the liver continues tired, and the risk of heart attack continues there, just masked. And it is here that turmeric enters as a watershed. It does not attack the symptom, it disarms the cause. Curcumin acts by reducing inflammation at the cellular level, preventing the liver from entering defense mode. It blocks inflammatory enzymes, COX-2 and NF-κB, cleans free radicals, and protects the walls of the arteries. In other words, it puts out the fire, and when the fire goes out, the firefighter, cholesterol, can finally rest. In addition, turmeric has a special effect that few know. It improves the quality of good cholesterol, HDL, making it more efficient in removing accumulated plaques. It is not just a matter of numbers in the exam, but of functionality. HDL returns to sweep the arteries, and the blood recovers the lightness it had in youth. But there is a fundamental detail that separates who sees results from who does not: the activation of turmeric. Alone, curcumin is poorly absorbed. The body simply eliminates it. That is why the most recent study showed that the combination with black pepper, piperine, is essential. Piperine increases the bioavailability of curcumin by up to 2,000%. That is, it is she who transforms a common spice into a real natural remedy. When used correctly, a level spoonful of turmeric with a pinch of pepper, mixed with a healthy food such as olive oil or vegetable milk. That combination activates what we call the hepatic anti-inflammatory mechanism. The liver begins to produce less bad cholesterol, the blood flows more freely, and the arteries begin to clean themselves naturally. And here is the most important thing: that happens without forcing the body. Different from artificial medications, turmeric respects the biological rhythm of regeneration. It does not interfere, it guides. It teaches the body to remember how to balance itself, and the body, when remembered, responds. In the next few minutes, I will show you what really happens inside the body when you consume that mixture every day. You will understand the biological step by step, how the liver reacts, what changes in the blood, and why the results are so fast, even in people with chronically high cholesterol for years. The invisible villain, the inflammation that creates high cholesterol, and how turmeric deactivates it. The real cause of high cholesterol is not what you eat. It is what your body feels. Bad food is just a spark. What keeps the fire burning is silent inflammation. It is the invisible villain that destroys the balance of the blood, overloads the liver, and transforms cholesterol into a time bomb inside the arteries. And the worst thing is that this inflammation does not hurt, does not bleed, does not manifest itself. It just corrodes little by little, like rust on a metal that seems solid. It all starts in small chemical reactions. When you consume refined sugar, processed vegetable oils, or ultra-processed foods, your body reacts by releasing inflammatory cytokines, substances that should protect, but that in excess begin to attack. Those cytokines irritate the endothelium, the thin layer that lines the inside of blood vessels. And to repair that damage, the body sends LDL cholesterol to plug the holes. At first, that is good. The body is trying to heal itself. But if the stimulus does not cease, the repair transforms into accumulation, and the accumulation into obstruction. It is here that what I call the cycle of internal fire enters. The body inflames, the liver reacts, cholesterol rises, the blood thickens, the heart works more, the body inflames again. That cycle, repeated for months or years, is what transforms a healthy organism into a microscopic battlefield. And that is why millions of people follow diets and take medications, but continue with altered exams, because the focus is on the number, not on the cause. Turmeric acts exactly in that cycle. It is one of the few natural substances known by modern medicine that deactivates NF-κB, the main inflammatory protein responsible for activating the process of cell destruction. When that pathway is blocked, the body stops sending the emergency signals that force the liver to produce more cholesterol. It is as if the organism finally understood that the fire is over. The result is cleaner blood, more relaxed arteries, and a real and sustainable reduction of cholesterol. But the effect of turmeric goes beyond the arteries. Curcumin also acts inside the liver, increasing the activity of glutathione, the most powerful antioxidant in the human body. Glutathione cleans toxins, reduces cholesterol oxidation, and protects liver cells. With the liver lighter, the whole body breathes better, digestion improves, the blood circulates more lightly, and the heart works with less effort. In a study published in the Journal of Atherosclerosis and Thrombosis, patients who consumed daily a spoonful of turmeric activated with piperine presented a drop of up to 70% in LDL and an increase of 25% in HDL in just 8 weeks. Those numbers would be impressive even for a synthetic medication, but here we are talking about something completely natural, a spice that many have at home and do not even imagine the power it carries. And there is a fascinating detail. Turmeric does not destroy bad cholesterol by force, as statins do. It transforms it. LDL, when it is not oxidized, is just a transport molecule. The problem is when it oxidizes, and that is what curcumin prevents. It protects cholesterol from oxidizing, preventing it from becoming toxic and attaching to the walls of the arteries. Instead of forcing the body, it teaches it to use what it has in a more intelligent way. Therefore, many patients report that after a few weeks consuming activated turmeric, the body seems lighter, the mind becomes clearer, sleep improves, and even blood pressure tends to stabilize. That is not magic. It is the chemistry of inflammation being reversed. The blood that was previously inflamed and dense returns to flow smoothly, like a clean river after the rain. But there is a reason why not everyone gets those results, and it is in a very common mistake, the way turmeric is consumed. If used in the wrong way, it passes directly through the digestive system without the body absorbing almost anything. It is what happens when people sprinkle turmeric on food and believe that is enough. Without good fat and without black pepper, curcumin is practically not absorbed. In the next few minutes, I will show you the step-by-step inside the body, what happens when you consume that mixture correctly, activated with piperine and healthy fat. You will understand how it travels through the blood, reaches the liver, and literally cleans the arteries from the inside. Step by step, what happens in the body when you take 1 spoonful of that mixture per day? Imagine that you wake up and decide to start the day with a simple spoonful of turmeric activated with black pepper and a good fat, such as olive oil or coconut oil. At first glance, it seems something too small to generate impact, but inside your body, that spoonful triggers a complex and powerful sequence of chemical reactions, a true concert of regeneration. In the first 15 minutes, the mixture enters the digestive system and begins to release curcumin, the active compound of turmeric. The piperine from black pepper enters into action immediately, blocking an enzyme of the liver called UDP glucuronidosyltransferase, which would normally eliminate the curcumin before it was absorbed. By inhibiting that enzyme, piperine multiplies the bioavailability of curcumin by up to 2,000%. That means that each gram you consume begins to act fully, reaching the blood and tissues in a matter of minutes. The good fat that accompanies the turmeric has an essential role. It acts as a transport vehicle, encapsulating the curcumin and facilitating its absorption in the walls of the intestine. Without fat, curcumin simply passes directly. With it, it is absorbed as a natural remedy, reaching the liver, the heart, and the blood vessels. Between 30 and 45 minutes after consumption, the blood already begins to present higher levels of active curcumin. It binds to the membranes of the liver cells, stimulating the production of antioxidant and detoxifying enzymes, such as glutathione and catalase. Those enzymes clean the liver of accumulated toxins, reduce internal inflammation, and improve the organ's ability to regulate cholesterol. It is at that point that turmeric re-educates the liver, returns to produce cholesterol in healthy quantities, and the excess begins to be eliminated naturally. At the same time, curcumin reaches the arteries. There, it acts directly on the endothelium, reducing the oxidation of LDL cholesterol and preventing it from attaching to the walls of the vessels. The blood becomes more fluid and the circulation more free. That effect, added to the increase of HDL, makes the body initiate a process of gradual arterial cleaning. Old plaques begin to lose adherence and the vessels recover elasticity. After 2 to 3 weeks of continuous use, the results begin to appear in a perceptible way. The energy increases, the digestion improves, and the sensation of weight in the legs or tiredness after meals tends to disappear. The liver, less inflamed, begins to regulate glucose and blood pressure better. Many also report improvement in memory and mental clarity, because the cleaner blood carries more oxygen to the brain. Inside the body, something even more important is happening. The intestine, which is the second brain, begins to recover the balance of the bacterial flora. Curcumin has a mild prebiotic effect, feeding beneficial bacteria and reducing the bad ones. That improves the absorption of nutrients and reduces systemic inflammation, one of the most ignored factors by those who fight against high cholesterol. After 60 days of regular consumption, studies show that LDL cholesterol can fall up to 70%, while HDL, good cholesterol, increases about 25%. The body, at that point, is no longer just reacting, it is reprogramming itself. The liver enzymes stabilize, the blood becomes cleaner, and the heart works with less effort. The risk of arterial blockage plummets, and blood pressure tends to normalize. But there is a detail that makes that process even more powerful: the cumulative effect. Each spoonful of turmeric is not an isolated remedy, it is a drop that day after day rebuilds the internal balance. Curcumin accumulates in the cell membranes, creating a kind of antioxidant shield that prevents inflammation from returning. Over time, the whole body becomes less reactive and more resilient. That is why I always say to my patients, There is no quick cure, but there is constant cure. A spoonful per day is enough to change the internal environment of your body, and when the environment changes, cholesterol changes along. The inflammation goes out, the liver is purified, and the arteries breathe. The body returns to work in harmony with nature. In the next few minutes, I will show you why that effect is even more vital after the age of 60. You will understand how the aging of the cardiovascular system alters the way the body deals with cholesterol, and why that spice is so effective precisely in that phase of life. Why the risk increases after 60, and why turmeric is the safest weapon in that period. After 60, the body begins to function at another rhythm, and it is exactly at that moment that cholesterol ceases to be a number in the exam and becomes a matter of survival. Age brings wisdom, but it also brings metabolic slowness, lower hormone production, and slower regeneration. The blood becomes thicker, the arteries lose part of the elasticity, and the liver begins to accumulate more fat than it should. And it is in that environment that bad cholesterol, LDL, finds the perfect ground to fix itself. The first change occurs in the endothelium, the inner layer of the arteries. With the passing of time, that layer loses its flexibility and suffers micro-lesions caused by blood pressure, by high sugar, and by chronic inflammation. Those small cracks are invisible in the exams, but they are the starting point of most cardiovascular diseases. It is there that cholesterol accumulates, trying to repair the damage. The problem is that after 60, the body can no longer clean the excess with the same efficiency. The second change is the natural reduction of HDL, the good cholesterol. It is responsible for sweeping the excess fat from the arteries and taking it back to the liver. But with aging, the liver receptors that capture HDL become less sensitive, which means that the body loses part of its ability to protect itself. It is as if the internal cleaning system became slower and the garbage began to accumulate. The third point is oxidative stress. With age, the body produces fewer natural antioxidants, such as glutathione and coenzyme Q10. Those substances neutralize the free radicals that damage the cells and oxidize LDL cholesterol, making it sticky and dangerous. When LDL oxidizes, it transforms into a substance that the immune system interprets as an invader. The defense cells, trying to help, attack it, and the result is even more inflammation and arterial stiffness. It's a vicious circle that only breaks when the body returns to control the inflammation at the origin, and it is precisely there that turmeric shows its strength. Curcumin, its active principle, is one of the few natural compounds that act simultaneously in the liver, in the blood, and in the arteries. It reduces oxidative stress, increases the production of internal antioxidants, and protects the endothelial cells against the damages of time. In addition, it improves the sensitivity of HDL receptors, helping the body to recover its natural cleaning capacity. Turmeric also protects the heart from a phenomenon called endothelial aging, in which the arteries lose the ability to dilate and contract according to blood flow. That process is directly linked to the reduction of nitric oxide, a molecule that keeps the arteries young and flexible. Curcumin stimulates the production of nitric oxide, returning to the body the lightness that time took away. With more relaxed arteries, the blood flows easily and the heart works with less effort. Another important factor after 60 is the prolonged use of medications. Anti-inflammatories, medications for blood pressure, and especially statins, so common for cholesterol control, can overload the liver. The liver is the center of cholesterol metabolism, and when it is intoxicated or inflamed, it loses the ability to maintain balance. Turmeric helps to regenerate the liver cells, stimulating the production of bile and facilitating the elimination of excess cholesterol through the feces. It cleans the filter that the body uses to purify the blood. And there is something even deeper. Turmeric also acts in the mind and in the nervous system. With aging, the brain suffers with silent inflammation, the same type that raises cholesterol. Curcumin crosses the blood-brain barrier and reduces brain inflammation, protecting memory, focus, and mood. Therefore, many patients report that, in addition to improving the exams, they begin to sleep better and to feel more emotionally lighter. What science is discovering now is that turmeric is not just a spice, it is a biological regulator. It adapts the body to age, helps the blood to circulate, the liver to function, and the heart to rest. And the most important thing, it does all that safely, without harming the organism, without dependence, and without side effects. In the next few minutes, I will show you how the body warns that cholesterol is out of control, even before the exams show. They are small signs that many ignore, but that the body uses as a warning language. And if you learn to recognize them, you can act in time, and maybe you don't even need any medication. Warning signs. How the body shows that cholesterol is out of control, and what each one means. The body always speaks. The problem is that, in the rush of life, most people stop listening. Before cholesterol becomes a worrying number in the exam, it already manifests itself in discreet, subtle, but clear ways for those who know how to observe. Those signs do not appear by chance. They are the silent language of the blood asking for help. The first symptom is usually tiredness out of time. It is not that common tiredness of a hectic day, but a sensation of weight in the body, as if the muscles took time to respond. That happens because the blood becomes thicker and oxygen has difficulty reaching the cells. When cholesterol is high, the transport of oxygen becomes inefficient, and even simple tasks, such as climbing stairs or walking, begin to seem more difficult. Many confuse that with age, but the real culprit is the blood that lost fluidity. Another sign is dizziness when getting up. That rapid oscillation of the pressure is the result of hardened arteries and a circulation that cannot adapt with agility. The brain, for a few seconds, runs out of enough oxygen, and you feel the world spinning. That recurrent dizziness is the body saying, the flow is not free. There's also tingling in the feet or in the hands. It happens because the excess cholesterol begins to obstruct the capillary vessels, which are the smallest and most delicate. Those vessels stay in the extremities and are the first to suffer when the blood loses mobility. That is why many elderly people report numbness in the fingers or a sensation of constant cold, even on hot days. The problem is not in the climate, it is in the circulation. One of the most visible signs is the more yellowish and oily skin, especially around the eyes. Those small yellowish bags, called xanthelasmas, are deposits of fat under the skin. They are the external reflection of what is happening inside, fat accumulating in the arteries, asking for attention before something more serious happens. Another common symptom is the lack of recent memory. When bad cholesterol begins to oxidize, it compromises the cerebral blood flow, reducing the supply of oxygen to the areas responsible for concentration and for the recollection of recent facts. That is why many patients say, "My head seems heavy," or "I forget what I was going to do." It is not just age, it is the brain suffering with the thick and inflamed blood. It is also common to have blurred vision, mainly at night. That happens because the small vessels of the eyes suffer the same effect of the larger arteries. They lose elasticity and become congested. The light seems more intense, the eyes get tired easily, and in some cases, the ocular pressure increases. All that is interlinked to the same mechanism, inflammation and accumulation of fat. In some cases, cholesterol manifests itself as mild but recurrent chest pain. It is not an acute pain, but a pressure, a sensation of squeezing that appears after mild efforts. That pain, called angina, is the heart warning that the blood flow is compromised. Many ignore that sign until it becomes a heart attack. There are still less known signs, but equally revealing. The difficulty in healing wounds is one of them. With the blood thicker and slower, the transport of nutrients to the tissues is harmed, and any small bruise takes longer to close. The same goes for hair loss, especially in men and women over 60 years old. The scalp also depends on a good microcirculation. All those signs have a root in common: the silent inflammation. It is the background cloth that feeds all the imbalances, from high cholesterol to diabetes, from fatigue to memory loss, and it is precisely for that reason that the treatment needs to go beyond cutting fat. It is necessary to change the internal environment, and it is there that turmeric stands out. Turmeric, contrary to the medications that only mask the numbers, acts by putting out the internal fire. It reduces the inflammation in the walls of the vessels, improves the blood flow, and returns to the blood the natural fluidity. When that happens, the body begins to repair itself alone. The tiredness gives place to disposition, the memory improves, and even the mood balances. The body that before screamed in silence finally returns to speak in peace. In the next few minutes, I will show you how to reverse that scenario, how to balance cholesterol naturally with a simple, safe, and daily strategy. It is not a radical diet, nor an expensive remedy. It is just an adjustment in the lifestyle that, when done with discipline, completely transforms the health of the heart and of the arteries. How to reverse naturally. Dr. Hale's balance plan for clean arteries and light liver. Many patients ask me if it is really possible to lower cholesterol and clean the arteries without depending on medications for the rest of their lives. And the answer is, yes, it is possible, as long as you understand what needs to be rebalanced. The secret is not to eliminate everything that has fat, nor to live on the basis of bland salads. The secret is to teach the body to function again as it functioned before the inflammation. And that begins with 3 pillars: detoxification of the liver, cleaning of the blood, and renovation of the endothelium, the inner layer of the arteries. The first step is to help the liver to breathe. It is the great laboratory of the body, and also the most overloaded. When you ingest alcohol, ultra-processed foods, sugars, and medications in excess, the liver becomes a saturated sponge. Without being able to filter the blood correctly, it accumulates fat, increases the production of cholesterol, and weakens the whole metabolism. Therefore, the first change must be to remove the weight from the liver's back. Avoid alcoholic beverages as much as possible and reduce the consumption of white carbohydrates, bread, rice, flour. In their place, prefer living foods, rich in enzymes and fibers, dark leaves, avocado, lemon, and warm water with turmeric first thing in the morning. That simple morning ritual, a spoonful of turmeric activated with black pepper and olive oil, is what I call natural injection of balance. It prepares the liver for the day, stimulates the production of bile, and facilitates the digestion of good fats, avoiding the accumulation of the bad ones. Make that a habit, not an isolated attempt. The body does not transform with a gesture, but with constancy. The second step is to clean the blood, and for that the movement is essential. It is not necessary to run or lift weight, just walk 20 to 30 minutes every day, preferably outdoors. Physical movement stimulates the circulation, improves oxygenation, and helps the body to eliminate the excess of cholesterol through the bile and the sweat. Think of that as spreading the cleaning done by the turmeric to the whole body. The blood needs to circulate to renew itself. The third step is to renew the endothelium, the inner walls of the arteries. For that, it is fundamental to increase the production of nitric oxide, a natural substance that keeps the vessels,